All right, welcome to Act 2. We got a lot ahead of us. Luckily, other people have already done the work and we know what we need to do. But first to get started, you're going to want to sell all the stuff that you got from Endariel. You want to make sure none of the gear is worthwhile to use. We're going to be replacing all of our gear at around level 15, so it's not super important to have any of this be really relevant unless it's super good. We don't need that sapphire. Go ahead and sell all of that. We want to hold on to chip gems. You want to check for faster run walk, resistances, magic find, hit recovery, and life if you can manage it. Don't go too crazy buying, like really expensive gear off of Farah here, because again, we're going to be spending about 50k gold replacing it all later on with chance to cast Nova. Realistically, you're just going to want some stamina potions, some thawing. You can pick up some antidote potions. I've been doing it more recently. Right here, I don't pick them up just because we are going to have cleansing auras soon, but it is kind of nice to have them. And you want to get it set to players 3, and then prioritize boss groups you can kill and try to do progress. We're looking to get up to level 15. We'd like to have a good beetle burst or like a good dark elder farming spot, both for money and for XP. And we want to be progressing as aggressively as possible. You want to do the Halls of the Dead as soon as you can, because you want to be able to use the cube recipe to generate gold. At level 15, and I'll just go ahead and stop the video right here to go over this. We want to buy a full set of Nova gear. This is gear that reads 10% chance to cast a level 3 Nova. Every piece of Nova gear that you have means that when you get hit, you have that much of a percent chance of dealing a Nova all around you, which is probably great, right? This means you can kill ranged units if they're close enough. This means you can clear out large areas even if the people aren't hitting you, where the Thorns aura only allows people who are in melee proximity to hit you. The Nova gives you an AoE effect, which is super huge. The way that it works, this is true. You don't need to Google it. You don't need to bring up some ancient Diablo wiki forum post from 2007. I promise you, I've already looked into it. According to the only reputable source, which is the Amazon basin, every piece of chance to cast Nova gear is additive, meaning if you have one piece, you have 10% chance every time you're hit. If you have two pieces, you have 20% chance, so on and so forth. We want to get at least 5 pieces minimum, meaning every time we get hit, there's a 50% chance that we're going to cast Nova. And if we could get 6 pieces, that would be great. The current world record uses 6 pieces, just so that you're aware. That means that our shield, helmet, body armor, belt, gloves, and boots could all say chance to cast Nova. That is the creme de la creme, that's the holy grail, that's the best that you're going to do. The way that items work, or more so the way that items are available at a shop, you take your character level, you add +5 to that. So right now that would put us at level 11, +5 is 16. That means that gear available in Act 2 is item level 16. The affix that we're looking for of Nova Shield, which is the suffix, is item level requirement 18 and character level requirement 13. So you have to be level 13 to use it, and the item has to be level 18 to even have the affix on it. So that means that at level 13, the shops in Act 2 are going to have a maximum of item level 18, which is perfect because that means that we can roll of Nova Shield. Now, just because of spooky magic, this is our own kind of superstition. It seems like more Nova gear is available at level 15. That doesn't make any sense. It's not how the game generates items. It's just superstition, but realistically, every world record is shopping at level 15. It just so happens that you're typically level 15 right before you'd want to be going into the Maggot Layer, and you want to have all of your Nova gear before going into the Maggot Layer, because each creature hitting you individually in a line one by one takes a damn long time to get through. So if each one of them has a 50% chance of casting Nova and hitting all their friends behind them, that would be so much better. Side note I just thought of, for all of the nerd heads out there who are going to say, but Mac, If you're level 15 or 16, does that mean that the shops are going to be level 20 and 21, meaning more affixes are available? Well, you're technically right, although you're half wrong, and I did pose it that way mostly so I can make this seem like a fun fact. Act 2 has a maximum item level cap of 20 when in normal. In normal, each act has a maximum item level so that you can never come in with like a level 90 character and cause the shop to roll with like +3 to javelin and spear skills, javelins or anything like that. The maximum item level in Act 2 is 20. The amount of affixes which are available between level 18 and 19 doesn't actually increase. There are no other affixes at level 19 that are available for armor. There are some at level 20. They're not really that important. They don't really dilute the pool to any noticeable degree. And in fact, of Nova Shield being a suffix, resistances are prefixes. So you could find, or even like mechanics, which gives you sockets. You can find a mechanics hard leather armor of Nova, meaning that you have some sockets. You can throw some of them gems or jewels in there that you find. Or you could find hard leather armor that has 10% chance to cast Nova Shield and 30 fire res, or 29 fire res might be the maximum. That's actually the primo tops, either mechanics to be able to put gems in it, or having flat resistance on them as well. But no, there isn't a problem. There's no such thing as item level 21 from an Act 2 vendor. Don't worry about it. Doing it at level 15, shopping at level 18, you're still going to have the same pool of affixes available. So don't feel bad if you overlevel. Don't think you're going to screw yourself or make it take longer to be able to shop for the gear that you need. So here, again, just because we're level 11, I do take the time to respawn that boss group and chance of getting more XP. I'd like to be level 12, 13 before we make it into the Fire Oasis, just so I don't get absolutely torn apart by beetles and itchy packs while we're out there. Take note, birds do an incredible amount of damage. So you're really going to want to be drinking potions the entire time and kiting them away enough to regenerate some of that health, and then come back in. Sand Leapers also do a ton of damage. What's funny is they do still knock themselves away when they take your Thorns damage, so they're really hard to kill, even when you're just standing still and they're coming to you. So like, feel free to ignore them if realistically it's taking too long to kill them. We're looking for speed above all else. You can always go back and farm more, but if you can move on sooner on the Pacifist, it really makes the difference. Here we're going to find the Fire Oasis. Getting that chip skull is super important. We want to hold on to all skulls if we can manage it. So if we can use a different chip gem in our Horagic Cube recipe, that would be better. 2 skulls, a barbed club, and a magic shield. Again, like I said earlier, will make a of Thorns shield, meaning it will have attack that takes damage on it, and since we can use a paladin shield, it can roll with plus to paladin skills, and it can also roll with high base resistances, which would be fantastic to use later on in the run. Imagine a shield that gives you plus to Thorns, and also a ton of res, and attacker takes damage. You can see why that would be so good. Death Beetles in the Fire Oasis, even if they're not a boss pack, completely worth the time to kill if you're still looking for experience and looking for items to sell. You'll see here that we actually got cursed, which means that we're doubling the damage that we deal to stuff. That's why these raptors are able to one-shot themselves on our body so easily, even on players 3. Itchies are also really good to fight. One, they drop a lot of potions, and they have a tendency to drop gems and jewels and jewelry more often. The only issue is that they attack kind of slow, so you want to try to take a pass at every individual Itchy in a group, so that the other ones who are basically, like saving up to come attack you again, you can kind of minimize the amount of time it takes between those hits. Scale Mail here is a really good pickup for gold, and we move on. We'd like to find Beetle Burst right here. We'd like to have him really close to a waypoint. Sadly, in this run, we don't get a Beetle Burst next to a waypoint. But if you did have one, you'd basically stop the run at this point. You would, or you would stop progressing. You would just farm him up until 17 or 18, meaning you could have Vigor, which would make your shopping time faster and also make the rest of the run faster. And also, he's probably going to drop enough gold for you to be able to buy everything that you need. And you're going to pick up basically everything that he drops, both items every time. In Act 2, you'll see that I don't run around as much unless it's itchies, or if I'm trying to advance past a group of monsters. Most things in Act 2 will hit you, even though you have your full defense value. You don't really have a lot of armor at this point, and also things in Act 2 tend to be higher level than you, which means it's easier for them to hit you. Feel free to take that time while you're sitting there to Tetris your inventory, refill your belt, take the time to think about or look at your map. Again, any time that you can save in between each action that you take will add up to a huge amount of preventable time loss. So you'll notice I only checked that one little blue helmet down in the bottom. When we get to the next section where we actually see a bunch of Nova gear, I'll point it out to you. But basically, we're looking for blue gear. Of Nova, it will have a blue tint to it, and depending on what kind of item it is, that blue will either be darker or lighter. But we're looking for like this very, very rich, like royal blue. And it's very obvious once you see a couple different pieces next to each other which ones are have different affixes, like of Frost Nova, or damage goes to mana, which we absolutely don't want either of those. Frost Nova is the worst. Think about it. If you slow down the people attacking you, they don't attack you as fast. They don't attack you as fast. They don't take Thorns damage as fast. So never use Frost Nova at any point. We're looking for the lightning skill of Nova. So we move on here. Going to Farah because we have to repair. Every time you go to Farah, if you're going to, take the time and look for boots. We find our faster run walk boots. Those are going to save us an incredible amount of time added up throughout the entirety of the run. Anybody who could get like first time shop Farah with faster run walk boots, decent shop time with Elzix, and get out of Act 1 faster than 33 minutes is probably going to get a pretty easy world record. Once you can master some of the harder things later on, like the Chaos Sanctuary, which is going to kill you a lot, and we'll just deal with that when we get to it, huh? We're looking for the halls. We end up picking it up. Hall's pretty uneventful. I drop player setting down to players 1 when I go down to any dungeon. It's not that I don't want additional XP, it's that things can block doorways. And if they're harder to kill, it will take longer to get through that doorway. It's really not worth the XP. So here, Maggot Layer, in the Claw Viper Temple, and in the Arcane Sanctuary, unless you're a mad person and you're looking for a very specific amount of XP at some point, you just want to go ahead and drop it down to players 1. Bloodfist here are super good gloves. I wish I found them earlier in the run because they would have been much better then. We are going to pick them up because we can get to 5 pieces of Nova gear without having to buy gloves. And if we can manage that, having the plus 40 hit points would be so big later on. The 30 to hit recovery too is fantastic. These gloves, if you can afford to wear them and still have 5 pieces of Nova, are easily one of the best items that you can have in this run on just about any character that does Pacifist.
Honors me.
We're going to go drop off some stuff here. Again, taking stock of what we have. We'll be able to re-roll that shield later on. So we're kind of just trying to make sure that we have everything put away so we don't accidentally use any of our resources there. We also have the white shield in case we end up imbuing that as well. And now we're going to start shopping Elzix. Why do we shop Elzix? Well, there's 2 things. we want to be able to reset the shops. The way that you reset a shop is by leaving the town of the act. So in Act 2, it's Luke Ghislaine. Leaving Luke Ghislaine inside of the same act. So like going to the waypoint and going to the dry hills, if you started in Act 2, will reset your maps, or will reset your vendors. Going down into the sewers, which is right above Elzix, which you can very quickly double tap and basically lose no time. It is faster than going through the waypoint, just in case you weren't aware. Also resets your vendors. In addition to that, Elzix has more armor available than Farah does, so we'll be able to see more items, giving us a better chance of finding of Nova Shield. So you're going to shop Elzix, you're going to get really tired of hearing him. Hi, hello, welcome to the Desert Rain. You're going to come to love Elzix in a special way that only pacifist runners can love Elzix.
Good day.
So, right off the bat, hot diggity dog, this is going to be a good run. Just so that you're aware, world record, we'll start shopping for Nova Gear anywhere between 40 minutes to 45 minutes. And the fastest we've ever walked away shopping at Elzix has probably been about 5 minutes. He can be finicky, he can be very stodgy, very difficult to get your items out of him. But right away we see 2 brilliantly blue, beautiful pieces of gear. Again, note just how rich the blue is. This is the color that you're looking for on everything that isn't heavy leather gloves and metal armor. If it's metal armor, it will be a lighter blue, but it won't quite be like Robin's egg blue. It'll be a bit darker than that. And if it's on heavy leather, or if it's on like heavy leather gloves, it'll be a darker blue, but not super dark. Super dark will be Frost Nova. Kind of darker blue will be Nova. The only other thing to keep note of is that there's a third affix, which is damage goes to mana. That will be a very similar blue to Frost Nova. And on a shield, so something like the shield that we see right here, it can be a little difficult to know exactly what it is without hovering over it. But this blue on this armor, you know right away that it's Nova. And we also have Nova on the shield. So we just got 2 pieces in our first shop, which is basically unheard of. So here, we're going to go down into the sewers, immediately click the Luke Ghislaine stairs again. You can do that in 1 frame. And you'll notice that basically muscle memory is going to check anything that's blue that we see. I already knew that we have Nova armor. We don't need new Nova armor. There is a chance that the armor will have that flat resistances or mechanics value to it. Buying a piece of gear is about 9 to 10,000 gold. Selling a piece back only gets you about 4,000 gold. So it's a net loss of 5k gold in case you ever are replacing a piece you've already purchased. If you have the money to spend, if you're a big baller, feel free to do it, especially if you're taking this slower and not necessarily doing the speed run. Feel free to shop until you have perfect all res or mechanics gear in every single slot. Like, do you, boo boo, if you want to be all blue. But you'll just see that like muscle memory twitching is going to bring us up to any piece that's blue that has a chance of being Nova. We started somewhere around 48 minutes. I'm going to skip until I show you the pieces, just because I don't want you to have to sit here and watch me shop without shopping music, most notably. But we're just going to we're going to do a little skip. You'll see there that was basically like 2 frames off. You can do a 1 frame transition there. So we're still looking for pieces. That's a 1 frame transition.
Hello.
Technically the fastest you can do it. Boom, that super deep blue. Looking at the Blood Fist, I want to try to hold on to them if I can. I think we sell them pretty quickly though, because we find another piece of Nova gear like almost immediately. But if we could hold on to the Blood Fist, that would be super good. Skipping. What do we got going on here? Find Nova Helmet. So we sell. I end up selling the Blood Fist because we're so close to being done. Realistically, I should have stopped, gone and transmuted some wands using the Herodric Cube recipe to make additional gold, and held on to Blood Fist. I'm going to regret this later on. Don't sell those Blood Fists, like, unless you absolutely have to. Mostly because this isn't even our last piece of Nova gear. We're actually going to need to find an additional piece. So either way, we're going to have to go through that little that exercise that I said. So realistically, hold on to those Blood Fists. They'll end up saving the run for you later on. Here we go to Akara. Like I said, you want to go pick up some cheap wands, taking any magic weapon and 3 chip gems. I've talked about this a whole bunch. It turns it into an item level 25 new weapon of the same type. So if it's a wand, it'll be a wand. It'll have sockets in it, anywhere between 1 to 2, depending on what the quality level of the item was. And also will reroll all the stats on it. That means if I pick up, like a 200 gold or whatever wand here that just has plus to mana, and I re-roll it, that thing could have +2 to Bone Spear, +1 to Curses, +1 to Poison and Bone, +3 to Bone Prison, It'll roll with these very high staff mods or class-specific skills. And that sells for a maximum of 10,000 gold in Act 2, 15,000 in Act 3, so on and so forth throughout normal. But like something like that, +2 to Golem Mastery. Perfect, that's 10k gold. What's our next one? Not good enough, so I'm willing to re-roll this one. Boom, 2 staff mods, perfect. Boom, +2 to staff mod, okay. So you see that we have 4 chip gems here. Again, I want to hold on to those skulls, and we just picked up 30,000 gold, which is more than enough to buy the rest of gear that we would need, so 1 to 2 more pieces of Nova, and be able to afford potions for the rest of Act 2, and still come out with money. So here I feel comfortable holding on to the gems that we have, and just continuing to roll with the money that we just created. Or the other Herodric Cube recipe that we're going to use. Oh, we're shopping, shopping.
Hi there.
Shopping. And this is what kills a run here. Shopping, we're shopping, and we're shopping. And oh geez, we're shopping.
Hello.
I guess something to quickly note, if you didn't have faster run walk, you wouldn't be crazy to check out... Ooh, that's actually a really good example. You wouldn't be crazy to check out the boots that Elzix has, because he can sell faster run walk as well.
Good day.
If you time it, an Elzix trip will take somewhere between like 18 to 22 seconds, depending on how optimized you are. Faster run walk will save you about part of a second or a second every time. So if you end up shopping him, if you notice we've been shopping him for about 7 minutes here. If you end up shopping him for 7-10 minutes, that ends up saving you somewhere around like 30 seconds to a whole minute, depending on how many trips that you do. You could probably do about 3 trips per minute, right? So right here, we see some heavy leather gloves. If you remember earlier, I was saying they are darker blue, but not that darker blue. These end up being Frost Nova Windstruck, which we absolutely don't want. It's the suffix of Frost Shield. This is if you check these gloves and you like look down at the plain leather gloves that we have, you'll see how much darker this is, and that's a really good indication that you don't have of Nova Shield on there. You almost didn't have to check them. I think I actually specifically checked them just to be able to highlight it here in the voiceover. And we're shopping, and we're shopping. Oh, obviously we don't need those. Something quickly to note, you'll see that we have hard leather armor, we have the small shield instead of the buckler, and we have the skull cap instead of a regular cap. We are going to be in some fights where we're going to be getting hit for a very, very long time. We're going to be in some fights we're going to be fighting for so long that our durability can break, and the moment that your gear breaks, it no longer gives you a chance to cast Nova Shield. If your gear breaks in the middle of the Ancients, you're basically screwed. So if you can pick up gear that has a higher base durability, it makes it less likely that you're going to screw up later on and forget to repair, and sometimes save your butt. If you do happen to forget to repair, you might have enough going on, like enough durability left over to actually get all the way through a fight. But the Ancients fight is something like 20 to 30 minutes, just to give you an idea of how long we're going to be taking a beating.
Good day.
Shopping. Shopping. Oh my god, Elzix, please. Hey, there we go. So sadly,
Hi there.
you'll see that we find our last piece. This is going to give us 5 pieces of Nova Shield. Again, if we could get up to 6 pieces, that would be great. It gives us an additional 10% chance to cast, which means we are slightly more likely than 50% of the time to cast Nova Shield, to cast Nova, which is fantastic. It also comes with 20 cold res on it, which is absolutely wonderful. On this run, cold res and poison res are actually a lot more important. The Ancients can be imbued with different elemental damages, and having 20% reduction in cold could mean the difference between being able to successfully handle the Ancients and having to reset when you're already 10-15 minutes into the fight. Elzix has never sold me a regular belt of Nova Shield. It's never happened. He only ever has sashes of Nova Shield. I don't know what's the deal with that. I don't quite understand why, since he is, like, the item level that his shop is high enough to have a belt that also has Nova Shield on it. I've never seen it. Farah can sell you it, but Elzix can't. That does mean that you're going to be using a 2-socket belt about 100% of the time. If you pick up a Nova Shield belt, there's no way around this. You just kind of have to put up with it. But we have our 5 pieces. This means that we can move on. We can go do the Maggot Layer. We can go get the other pieces of the Herodric Staff, and we can do the Arcane Sanctuary as well. That's basically all we're going to be doing. There I was just checking for a spiked club, but we're going to basically be progressing pretty aggressively. We do have our imbue left. Typically you use your imbue for a last-ditch effort chance of getting the 5th or 6th piece of Nova Gear. Since the imbue can roll your level +4, that means it's level 19 item that's being created from Farah, which is high enough to get Nova Shield. Since we have the 5-piece Nova, though, I'm going to use this on a Paladin Scepter for a chance to get really good staff mods. So we're players 8 leveling because we knew we were going to have to run up here to get to the Maggot Layer. Right back down to players 1 for the Maggot Layer. Nothing too crazy here, you just run through. You basically just want to be trying to run forward the whole time, so that the moment that that thing hits you, you're already running into the next monster in line. There is something that can happen down in the Maggot Layer. Sadly, it didn't have, well, not really sadly for me, because I would have tore all of my hair out. But the maggots in here can lay eggs like the one just did in the bottom of the screen there. We are not allowed to attack anything. We're not allowed to attack anything with a health bar. So while that means you can open a door, or break a pot, or knock over a corpse, you're not allowed to attack an egg sac that hasn't hatched yet. You're not allowed to attack the doors in Act 5 either, which is just fantastic. The eggs do physically bar your way. If you ever have an egg in front of you, an egg, from what we've seen, can take anywhere between 30 seconds to pop to never actually popping, ever. The egg has a ridiculous timer on it, and I've sat there and waited for an egg to pop for 5 minutes without it ever popping. A way that you can get around this is if you run all the way up to the egg, and I'll try to include a clip of this down below, because I do think that we have a clip from earlier. I think Blazer took one from our live stream. If you throw like 10 to 20 items on the ground right next to the egg, because the Maggot Layer is so narrow, Town Portal always tries to summon the same distance away from you within a particular direction, depending on your orientation. And if you fill the area around you with items, and the only free area that the Town Portal can reach is on the other side of the egg, it will actually open up on the other side, and then pick up your gear, click your Town Portal, which you can reach slightly farther away than what your character's like normal attack reach is, and then come back through your Town Portal on the other side of the egg. We call it like the TP egg hop. It's a very niche technique. You can only use it in the Maggot Layer. We've tried it elsewhere and it doesn't quite work. It needs the narrow caverns of the Maggot Layer. But don't lose hope if you drop an egg and it's just sitting there for 10 minutes. Try dropping a ton of items if you don't have like all your health potions, everything in your inventory. but not the gear that you're wearing, obviously. If you don't happen to have enough, feel free to just drop whatever you have, go to town, buy more, use that time to restock potions. Best case scenario, the eggs popped, you wasted a little bit of time, but it's over. Worst case scenario, you then throw them on the ground, resummon your TP, pick them all back up, and then keep going. Just, it's a trick. Again, I'll have a link to it below. It's ridiculous, but it's one of the things that we use to get through the Maggot Layer because you can't attack anything. And I don't agree with this ruling, but I wasn't around when they made the rules, and it's too late now, so we just have to deal with it, okay? All right, cool. Here, I do something and it pays off. Every alcove that you find like this, so this circle here, this tile, has a tendency to have a boss pack in it, which, since there's a lot of open area, means you'll probably be able to kill it very quickly, as opposed to everywhere else in the Maggot Layer. They'll also come with 2 super chests. A super chest is a chest that will drop a very large amount of high value items as opposed to a regular chest. And the higher player setting you're set at when you open the chest, not when you find the chest, but when you open the chest, the more items that will drop. And a lot of these super chests have a drop table that include a complete group of rare items, so yellow items. And that's exactly what happens right here. You'll see I'm setting it to players 8 before I do anything else. I open that one, nothing really in it. I do this one, I start running away. Oh, hot diggity dog. So a lot of great things here. Ringmail's going to sell for a ton of money. This ringmail right here. Chain boots. Chain boots could have resistances, and chance to cast charge bolt or something, and faster run walk, and life on it. So these could be huge. Longstaff is going to sell for max gold, 9 times out of 10. We have a chip gem, which means we can keep rolling for scepters if we don't happen to find a good one. But we want to pick up at least 1, 2, 3, 4 items here, and there's no downside to this as long as you don't forget that you've set it to players 8 at this point. You set it right back to players 1. None of the monsters that you're going to encounter are going to be like super juiced up or powerful. All you do is get the benefits of opening a super chest. You can also do this in the Arcane Sanctuary if you come to a platform that isn't the exit with the summoner. All 3 of those chests are super chests. So you can set it to players 8, pop them open, get all their goodies, set it back down to players 1, and keep going. Oh, and we also got a sick amulet, which we end up using for the rest of the run. I almost forgot. Looking for that topaz, and then we move on. Amulet is nice, 10 FCR, cold res. It could have had a lot better stuff on it. If this was any other speedrun, that would be a godlike drop. But still decent stats. Cold res is nice. You can't kill Cold Worm. There's no way to do it. Theoretically, all the stuff around you could hit you with enough Nova to kill her, but they'll all die before Cold Worm dies. Like in most speedruns, it's not worthwhile to try to waste the time and get anything from her. Sadly. Who doesn't love killing the Maggot Queen whenever they get a chance? Gosh. Just excited from all the loot. Trying to pick up some XP here. We do get an interesting spawn. Kind of wish we had been able to progress earlier. We get Dark Elder here. Now, Dark Elder, very hard to fight. He deals a ton of damage and poisons. And he's also magic resistant, which means he's going to have a base level of higher lightning resistance. So even having, full Nova gear isn't necessarily going to take him out very quickly. And then we find the waypoint right above him, which means that we can farm Dark Elder. We're going to use this to generate some money and a little bit of like last-ditch effort XP here. So we're just fighting Dark Elder, picking up the goodies. Moving on, going into the Claw Viper. Snakes are worth good experience, but they can just kill you. Sure, they're basically going to die in one shot every time because they get their charge damage attack, which gets returned to them by like, I think 500 or 600% at this point with our Thorns level. But it's definitely not a bad idea to, just kind of passively kill the snakes as you're heading through the Claw Viper. You do want to kill Fangskin. Like I said earlier, they are high enough level to actually drop of Nova Shield. or of Nova gear. And they're also a super unique, meaning they're worth good experience, and they're going to drop 2 magic items. We are going to get 18 here. You don't always have 18 before you go and fight Duriel. I recommend getting to it, though. I would say it's probably the optimal level to get over to Duriel, one, because you're going to have Vigor, which just makes everything faster, and also means that you don't have to waste any time in the beginning of Act 3, just kind of killing things which are normally pretty low XP value in the Spider Forest. So we're going to imbue the scepter, and I'm glad we're actually going to be able to see this here. We're also going to re-roll our scepter, the magic one that we have, because we do have enough chip gems at this point. Nothing. It's got money on it, so why not? Let's go imbue this one. And what we get here is probably one of the more interesting, not really a spoiler alert, but a little bit of foreshadowing. This scepter is the downfall of our run. RIP this beautiful scepter. What's really interesting here, so we have +2 to prayer, replenish life 7. What does this mean for us? Well, the replenish life 7 is nice. Needs something like 150 replenish life to have any noticeable health regen. It has a really, really bad conversion rate, but it's better than nothing. It's something like 0.7 hit points per tick, which is kind of cool. And not tick in game, tick meaning per cycle that the regen occurs over. It basically adds up to almost nothing, but it's something, so that's cool. +2 to prayer. We have Cleansing Aura. Cleansing Aura, as a synergy bonus, gains from prayer skill. Now, like most things in the game, synergy points only count for hard points. So that means like double swing on the barbarian gets +10 damage per hard point you put into bash. Cleansing Aura receives synergy bonuses even from soft points. So if you had +10 to prayer from different items, not really that you could do that, but let's say you did, your Cleansing Aura will receive synergy bonus as if you had 10 hard points in prayer. It's one of the only skills that does this. I think it's the only skill on Paladin that does this, where you get soft points as synergy points. But that basically means that this scepter is a regen stick, because this is going to bump our Cleansing Aura up from 2 points regenerated every second to 4 points regenerated every second. And 4 hit points regenerate every second is kind of nice, you know? It's like having a really bad potion on all the time. So we're willing to put this into the swap, and we're going to be using this during the Ancients fight. Obviously, I wish this had better stuff on it, resistances, +2 to Thorns, +2 to Vigor, all of that, but the +2 to Prayer and the Replenish Life together makes this solid enough that we're willing to use this as an item optimization later on. I check Elzix. It's always worth a while to just quickly go check him in case he happens to have that 6th piece of Nova gear. Honestly, even if that ends up losing you 10 to 20 seconds throughout the run, I think it's worth it. Just as a quick side note, we are in the red here. Realistically, I would have reset this run long before we even stopped farming at Rakanishu, even with the 2 skulls. I figured this is actually a really good example of your more average run, your less optimal run. I know it sounds kind of like a cop-out, but the other side of it too is that this is still on par to be able to be a PB for us. We're currently 13 minutes behind the world record for our 2nd place finish. So even if I come out of here plus 10 minutes, we could still get a really nice PB. So we're willing to keep this run going. Also, it highlights so many of the good do's and don'ts that I basically did a one and done. I did this one run, I was like, that kind of covers everything that we're going to need for this. So let's just keep everything in and go with it. Fire Eye. Why don't you farm Fire Eye? He's a static super unique. You'd always get him. His minions cast permanent terror on themselves. It's actually a glitch. They're not supposed to run away from that long, but they get stuck and will stop attacking if they get to low enough life. The only way to kill Fire Eye is if there are a ton of archers in the background hitting you and proccing Chance Cast Nova. It's not worth it to farm Fire Eye. You can't rely on the archers being there or not just dying immediately. And he's another one of those monsters that you cannot kill in this run. So don't do it. Don't waste your time. It's not worth it. Also, he's just not worth good experience, even at high level, honestly.
This product of a twisted mind.
So here, you can run through ghosts, and you can sometimes skirt past Ghoul Lords. But if you have a Goatman in front of you, if there's at least two, you basically can't run past them. Your best bet is to throw on Vigor and try to run as far as possible, and not switch over to Thorns until you have to stop. In this run, since every second counts, having Vigor on as often as you can is the only strategy. And a lot of the times you'll actually be moving fast enough to be able to slip by things you normally wouldn't be able to, just based on how the game does its clipping. So you want to try to remember to have Vigor on as often and as soon as you can. I will say that if you don't care about XP, like if you're already level 18 and you just want to move on, the only real optimization you can do here is instead of saving and exiting, attempting to just make a town portal and then run through town to the waypoint can end up saving you time, since there's a maximum amount of boss or champion packs that can spawn in the Arcane Sanctuary. If you check one or two ways already, you've more than likely spawned one of those boss packs, meaning it's less likely that you will spawn one later. Meaning the average minion that or the average monster you're going to run into isn't a boss pack, isn't a champ pack, and isn't a minion. So it'll be easier, slightly easier to run by them, or run through them very quickly. So that's kind of your only optimization available in the Arcane Sanctuary. You get a really short tomb as well, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, look at this, immediate left. Although we almost die. These red skeletons, everybody who's done the speedrun knows, these red skeletons do an insane amount of damage that's completely unwarranted for their very tiny shape. Something very important to note here is we already have a base of 32 cold res. Drinking a thawing potion is going to get you 50 cold res on top of that for 30 seconds for every potion that you drink. When you're sitting at max cold res on Duriel, you can actually survive on just potions without having to run around and regen. If you only have 50 cold res though, he's going to deal more damage than your potion can regenerate, so you'll basically have to run around a bit. Typically putting on Vigor to make some space, letting your potion regen, and then coming back to fight him. But you'll see here that we're basically able to stand right up against the wall for almost the entirety of the fight, just on potion regen alone. Taking that time to do our little Tetris. I get a little freaked out that he's going to kill us, so I do take a quick trip around. You do want to be directly up against a wall, because like right here, he'll knock you back, and then he'll have to run forward to hit you, and he can do that continuously. So if you have him up against a wall, he can never knock you back, so you never miss out on that time where he has to walk up to you. Again, it saves you a couple seconds here and there, but it adds up. Fantastic ring right there. 24 fire res gets us right up to the minimum that we're going to need to survive the Chaos Sanctuary. And it's perfect, you know, that's kind of exactly where we wanted to find something like that. All right, go ahead again. Just another piggity tap right there on the back. You just killed not only Duriel, I mean you murdered everything in all of the Far Oasis, the Dry Hills, and the Lost City. But you just killed Duriel, an amazingly difficult boss on any normal speedrun. You know, basically the noob stomper of bosses. You just killed Duriel without taking a single swing at him. GG boys, you're officially a pacifist. Here's where we're going to stop Act 2, just so you can watch this in its own little nugget shell of a video, and we're going to move on to Act 3. I would just say like the important things to note here again was getting enough gold, really aggressively trying to find faster run walk boots, getting up to that level 15, and then hard shopping at Elzix until you get at least 5 pieces of Nova gear, and then checking him every time after that, just in case he happens to have another one. We went over rolling wands to make money, rolling scepters for skills, imbuing prioritization depending on what kind of items you end up with. And all in all, I think we actually were able to touch on everything that you really want to pay attention to in Act 2.